Good evening, everyone, and you can just scoot over here if you want. And I'll share my computer and my hard copy with you. Welcome to the Virgin Planning Commission work meeting. We have about a single item on our agenda today. And that is a review, hopefully our final review of the draft of our general plan. And present are Mr. Ken Peterson, Mr. Larry Gray, and myself, Darlene Pope. And I was thinking of this process. If we could pull up, you have a hard copy of the new one?
This is the one that, the newest.
Yeah, it says May. It was in our main folder. I will tell you, because I had to make a correction. No, it's okay, it's mostly right, but like we asked that this part be removed and it was still there, so I just went ahead and reviewed it.
Okay.
And what I thought we could do is we could go and take like 3 to 5 minutes to reread. And then if you can do, I have to do a double screen and I can go through the comments on that section that we just reviewed. And we can make sure they're there, we can catch any errors,
Okay.
okay? And if we do like,
That's the only part I had some notes on there that I'll think.
yeah,
You just type.
no, yeah, he made some changes, that's the May 2025 one. And,
This was just last night, so. Or it might have been this morning, she printed this morning.
oh, yeah, well, we looked at it quite a bit, so I think if the first thing that we, the first section is introduction, and that starts on page 1. And it's 1 on the document, page 1 of the document. And before I forget, if you notice at the end of each section, there is a blank page. One of the things that I would like to see, that's not too difficult to do, is to have some photos of the community or even from the community on that topic, on those pages, just to kind of dress it up. And I'm also gonna have open the results of the general survey.
Okay.
That we sent out to the community, so we wanna say, well, is this really what was thought?
Right.
We can cross-reference them,
Okay.
right? And on that,
So we're on the introduction.
yes, so, and I've already skimmed the introduction, so. Fine. It's just a couple pages, and then while you guys do that, I am going to pull up the other items. So I put the PDF of the comments from the previous version of the general plan into our folder.
Okay.
For this meeting tonight. And what I can easily also do for you is, drop in there the summary. I thought if we did a little routine like that,
The comments.
I just want to make sure, yeah, there it is. So I'm going to drop into the same folder, the summary PDF that I had out at the time then. In case you want to we can reference that. So all we need to have open is that one folder. Okay, and can you get into your SharePoint? Okay. Okay, then you go to. Well, you can use this to refer. You don't need that. No, because I can very good with double screens. I don't mind a double screen.
Great.
Comments from April. Confirm the Virgin survey here. And I can We did it together. He did a update of our old general plan based on all of the public input.
Okay.
Based on our, we did 2 or 3 rounds of comments.
Right.
And that's how this came.
Yeah, and is this, it's Kevin.
Kevin is not able to come tonight. So any changes we want, we're gonna put on the document in our folder, and I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay.
And then, just like I did before, I sent the PDF with comments.
Okay.
I told them I would do that within 48 hours of this meeting. But it's a long weekend, so I may actually, do it on Tuesday.
When does he want it?
He didn't say what he wanted, I just.
So can you, so I'll go ahead and read these as you, are you going through them, or are you going?
Well, what I wanted to do was to have a skim a section, right? And then what we can do together is, if we go here. I went through all the comments in that first section. And, I made a few corrections just to have things make sense, but I think everything was addressed. All right, and for example, can I just do that for a second, so we can. I changed some language just to make it read smoother. Introduction. So Ken, why don't you switch over here? So, follow me around with the sure I'm like you. So right now, what I want to look at was the introduction. How does it look to you, Larry?
So I read the whole thing, thought it was pretty
Pretty good.
good, yeah.
Okay.
Some small typos
Yeah.
and just one item I wanted to comment on, but
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, so this may be a short meeting, but I just wanted to make sure that, I haven't spent a lot of time with the results of the general plan survey. I think it does it does reflect, the results of that. This plan has 7 elements, which address blah, 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 but where's the language I changed here? So it says several open houses were conducted where the public were able to express their concerns and desires. I changed it to where the members of the public. It is was. It's, public is a, collective now. So I can go ahead and make that change in the final document. Other than that, all the comments there were done. And then Ken's,
Are you striking this?
yeah, it's supposed to be done.
Okay.
Because we replaced it with this.
Oh, okay.
And then that was another mistake, he didn't put the correct version here. That's our old vision. And
And you create this?
several of us created that.
Great.
All right. So environmental element, this was your baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a moment and read the environmental element. Were you able to see what the other comments were?
I should go back to that screen.
Did update the acreage. Grammatical and different conditions. on that section.
It's so small, I can't hear you.
It is. So I just have, you can just keep 2 tabs. I'm gonna do this. I just pull the 2 tabs I want out and pull it.
Okay,
And then you can just overlap them a little, and it's easy to click that. But I don't meditate.
Yeah, I'm working.
And I apologize about like, but it's gonna be a quiet. Pretty quiet. Okay, so these are the, I wanna make sure one of the things I wanna do is to go through and double check all the comments.
okay.
Larry, what are your thoughts on that section? Do you have any additional
I
comments?
don't have any comments until like page. So,
Page 9 on the
you
document?
know, yeah, it's right.
Oh, it's in a different thing, okay. So the next one is land use element. Yeah. We came up with one, did he, that's what I wanna make sure, did he change that, is the curve still there?
The crew is still on there, and
And that's my concern, is that some of our comments were. The bad thing is, let me find that. That was mine, right? Oh, preserve right there. I suggested preserve. Under goal.
this is. I don't know.
Goals, the preservation, is that correct?
All the character and integrity of the environment. False. Make this a little better as possible. Huge.
Conservation,
This word.
Design.com, goals and policy.
It's correct.
Yeah.
Page 4
Of document.
yeah.
It used to be integration, we changed it to goals and policies. Yeah, preserve the character.
Integrity of your environment, and then make as little environmental impact as possible when developing properties, including rental tower underground, whether it's considered.
Okay, so you did update that.
Where,
Page 4. You're back, aren't you? I know.
Yeah, I'm back, well, I finally got my page open up where I could read it, so.
Um. This is how we do it. So this is the new, this was the old. So yes, that has been updated. And then this was the form one. That was okay, there was a comment on the second board here.
The space next to the coffee shop is a catchment basin, we're not calling it a park. I know that we,
It's originally, that's what it was.
Right.
Originally, so we just went back to, since it's not, it is not part. I mean, people use it,
right,
but technically it is not. That its purpose, if you go back to when it was started, was for the runoff from Sierra Club.
okay. Oh, so it's their catch basin.
Yes.
So, well,
Yeah, and it may require the removing of it for
so let me make sure I understand, when you're talking about catch basin.
pocket, bill, all
So, and is there a gate that can make it a catch basin?
I do not know what it's about, so
Are you saying it's been a catch basin in the past?
I was told that was its original purpose by someone who has knowledge. But I am not an expert on it.
So there is a catch basin, a pond reservoir, northwest of the park from for drainage there. So this, and I feel really strongly, and this is gonna depend upon, this is kind of what problem we have is that we're dealing with, I think the town trying to do a study on flooding,
Yes, and we got kind of,
flood control. And I don't know if they have signed a,
I learned last night at the town council meeting that it is underway for about 2 weeks and it's anticipated it will be done polish. I think those are the notes I took. Okay? So I know you're an expert on that area.
no, I'm not an expert. I have experience, which doesn't always equate to.
So it looks like the changes were made in that section.
yes,
So this is working well. And then the next goal was night sky preservation. That looks like it's been updated. Okay. Yes, that was added. Lee Ballard suggested that this. And this makes it a better deal. So I'm glad, you know, to educate the public, which I know was important for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Preserve view sheds.
And I understand that this is just a plan. And it's giving what our goals are
Correct.
and what we'd like to see happen. And what we want to shoot for.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's good.
Right. And then land use, seven wrongs to your question. So, let's look at that. Only in the intro, I only saw one comment. Oh, did they take out? That one's not. Any current conditions? Um, That looks good. And desired outcomes. Commercial use, there were a couple comments on that, let's see if I can pull them up. Says, with commercial use section,
Yeah,
and the town council may have something to say on that, you know, because they. Yeah, because some of us didn't, like I don't know, the phrase, there is no need to expand commercial uses beyond what is currently is, so that's why it was rephrased. I don't know if you remember that. In the previous version of commercial use,
Okay.
Kevin wrote, there is no need to expand.
Oh, yeah.
Because 64% of that land is not being used.
right,
So that's why it was revised.
yeah.
So this is better.
Yeah, okay, much better, because I would have commented on that, and I never read this one, I just read the one that was corrected.
We discussed this one. Were you here or
I mean, I know this has come up before, where I
Yeah,
said that,
yeah.
yes, there's a lot of land out
not?
there.
So
but
some of us had a concern about that, so that's why we revised it.
Yeah, because the available land is big chunks, and it's not gonna be a mom and pop's business if that's what we're looking at.
I am not, I know we're working on some potential other types of zones, and I don't know that we want to name them specifically, and that might be something I would point out to. In order to lessen impact on residential communities, alternate types of zones, rather than name specific ones. That's. Yeah, I don't like the word one. There is. So there is a lot of big. Although, come out of commercial zone and it's undeveloped. Something like that.
Okay.
That sounds a little more professional.
Okay. You're asking, well, good.
Which way do you care? Does it matter to you?
It, to me, it doesn't matter, but there's grammatical corrections here that I would have never caught, so I
Yeah.
have to leave that to you.
Okay. Because if we like this, I mean, I think we have the full spectrum of the commission here.
Yes.
Ways of thinking,
And I read through the one we had.
and we can move ahead with the public hearing next month.
Yeah, I think it's,
Okay,
other than, just a couple of little comments, but
but I thought it would behoove us to spend a little time going over it one more time.
yes.
Because there were some pretty extensive comments last time. Okay, so then orderly growth. Let's look at that.
So I guess I don't have an issue with this, you know, walkability is important. But I think we just did something,
Where are we?
so under orderly growth,
Okay,
about the middle of the paragraph, talks about walkability is important.
and that would be a good time to look at the general survey plan.
Which, and I agree that it's important, but I think that we did something that eliminates a lot of potential pedestrian traffic. We have in our general plan notes, it says that, highway commercial land is for the most part developed or undevelopable. The highway resort,
No,
it
it's
says,
not
right here,
undevelopable. Where did you get that?
it says right in here somewhere that the highway resort area is.
There are still a few areas.
But very few, and it's all inside of town except for the part that's all developed in the middle of town. And if people's, so right now, the highway resort zone is almost 2 miles from the closest restaurant. So I would consider that walkable. And having hotels intermixed with commercial development like it is in Springdale's and most resort towns. Seems to make a lot of sense. You park your car at the hotel and you get out and walk to the shops and
That's not what
restaurants.
the general survey said, though.
That's that they want, if people
They
walk 2
want-
miles to.
Well, several of the newer places are great. I know White Bison's gonna have a restaurant. I know, the Auto Camp has a restaurant. I know the KOA is gonna have a pizza place.
I just think we eliminated a lot of walkability when we moved all the hotels to highway
So
resort.
there's, yeah,
And highway resort, I can't think of too many places that have developed that are buildable. There's several floodplain or on a hillside, but.
so
So,
walkability also means, like a downtown area where you park once and then you go to several places. That's also walkability. Walkability is also making sure when we have our new developments, we pay attention in that section of our code that says there's a path. You know, I think, I just read that, I think in the report that Shia did, that the KOA is gonna be extending that pathway in front of theirs. I think, I might be mistaken.
Did you not want that,
No, it's in our ordinance, like in lieu of a sidewalk, you can put like a.
oh, love for a walk path, yeah.
There's supposed to be one, in front there. Like-
By thinking, look at the other community in the corridor that has commercial of any substance. The uniqueness of the geography and the highway that connects it all, to this point, has pretty well kept everything on the highway.
right,
And I don't know how that's gonna spread off, or if it'll spread off in the future. It hasn't much in Springdale. They may be a little more constrained than us, but then in some areas they're not as constrained. So I think if we look at what the possibilities are, is that there would be, even in Springdale, we have a focus that starts pretty much at the service station and of non-hotel commercial, starts kind of at the service station and runs past George's and some might argue it's large at Pittsburgh, but not really. There's that focused center, concentrated center where there's been stores and different types of restaurants, at the pizza and noodle and
Yeah.
and those places, food stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty spread out, hotels on all the way on both sides, way out from there. I think that's what's going to probably want to naturally happen here. I would think that that could be a trend. If we don't like that, how can we plan to diversify that more and make it walkable? And certainly, you're not gonna walk from one end of Springdale to the other. And I don't think we should do it here either. People might catch a shuttle, they have that convenience of park shuttles that can pick them up everywhere from Trees Ranch on up.
The bike path
And,
when it comes in.
and maybe someday that would be something that's here as a shuttle. That just shuttles people up and downtown because there's a lot of commercial along the highway.
I don't think.
You're thinking more bedroom deal.
No, what I was very clear, if you read the results of general plan, is they wanted commercial and high resort to pretty much have access through and beyond Highway 9. They wanted small groupings of, stores, bistros, whatever, that you could park and visit several things. Maybe go have lunch, go stop at an ATM, go buy something in a little gallery.
So now, I know when I vacation, I will pay more for a location that is in the middle of a bunch of shops and restaurants where I don't ever have to get in my car unless I'm gonna go look at sites. If I came to Virgin with the plan of hiking and maybe having, spending some time in Virgin at the restaurants and shops here, I would have to take a car unless I brought a bike to ride to the other side of town. Springdale, like you said, it has a section from like the gate to the gas station that is constantly full of pedestrian traffic. And most of the only people that are using the restaurant parking are the people that are staying at the hotel that's further down than or further west, or people from outside of Springdale coming to eat. If you're in a hotel next door to the restaurant, you're not gonna get your car and drive to the restaurant.
There's a strong desire in Virgin to not be totally like Springdale. Because Springdale is, they have such a vast more amount of transient visitors than permanent residents. And although there is a desire in Virgin to have some of that, there's also a desire not to have that much.
So we're already there. We have, there could be 3,000 people that stay in our town when the KOA is open and the, like Bison's completely open to our 700 people.
And so we're not as impacted as Springdale, but there is, and it came through very, very clear, whether it was the meetings in this room or the general plan survey, that they want some services that, yes, will benefit tourists, but also will benefit residents.
None of those services will come if there's not people staying in town. If,
Well, but we have Sierra Bella, your development is, the amount of residences is increasing.
so I did that too, and I figured that every one of us would have to eat at Balcony One once a week for him to stay open. I think it was even more than that, it's like every other night you have to go there, people's gonna rely on the locals. Obviously, there's no business in town that solely relies on the locals.
But that's not what he said. That although it may address the need of the tourist, it also addresses the need of the locals now.
Yeah, so
It's
you want
great.
that cool, you want that market, you're gonna have to have people here to support it, and
And as you said, we will.
it's, yeah.
So, there's a balance there, and I think we have to acknowledge that.
I agree.
So my mind wanders.
So let me just finish the point. My point is general plan says we want walkability as a very important goal. And we've just passed an ordinance that that makes that more difficult.
I think walkability, when we just talk about it, we talk about it here and stuff like that, in the town council. I wonder, I felt that people wanted the walkability off of SR9 as well as on SR. It wasn't just a sidewalk along SR9, which is kind of what Springdale is like. And you might not agree with me here. Anybody been to Elko, Nevada?
Maybe got gas there, maybe.
You should go to Elko and go to the Nevada Star Restaurant. Fast food. And,
Bass,
fast,
oh, bass.
and, a region of others. And the Spanish sheepherds came in the 1800s, the early 1900s, and fast food evolved. But it's got a major highway that goes through town. What is that, 85 out of Salt Lake City? Something like that. Remember what it is?
Nobody knows.
Mucka, anybody been to Mucka?
No.
Guys need to get out here, go see some places.
So outside of,
But when you have a major highway, and we have a major highway on one side of the state road, but to us, it's a major highway as to how it affects us. And that major highway is going to be our commercial street
Right.
and our commercial center, no matter what we think.
I
And,
agree.
the residents who are going to live here and move like we have, they're not gonna very often go to the restaurants. They're gonna eat at home. Okay,
what?
because they live here. I'm talking about the residents.
No, I disagree. I have a lot of
I
residents.
would go out every night if there was somewhere I could walk to, sorry.
Yeah. And when the River Rock, that's a possibility. If, Michelle's could be a possibility. There's a lot of residents in Desert Gardens, so I am shocked at how often they go out to eat and how far they'll drive to go eat. Because they just really enjoy it.
Well, I enjoy eating out too, but once or twice a week is probably the max for us.
I don't go out, but I have a whole other reason for that.
So if
It's
there's,
not that I don't.
the resident has to earn my right to, walk to it and to be comfortable walking to it. But I don't know how a town can encourage a certain commercial future. And I know that's what we're trying to plan. But I think it's gonna be difficult
It is.
when your main artery is where most of the
Well-
commercial's gonna wanna be.
Well, we talked also about, this goes to transportation, perhaps. There's a desire to have accessibility across the highway in a safe way, whether that's using washers, whether it's not raining, you know?
Correct.
So that's another definition of encouragement. Anyway, what about trails, trailhead improvement? Accessibility.
That's good.
Um. And, uh, um, That's,
Larry, do you have any issues with the trails?
No,
Stuff,
I mean, there was,
basically.
and I really didn't have an issue with the walkability either. I want to encourage that also, and
I think this is good, and it sends it off to transportation.
economic enhancements is shorter, one, no, encourage responsible advertising, benefit, all this, opportunity, that's here, comment that you made that we took out, okay. Private property, use, sorry.
What does the first sentence here mean?
I see.
Encourage responsible economic activities.
What are responsible economic
Businesses.
activities?
Businesses.
Pardon?
Businesses. What kind of business?
Oh, okay, so you're talking about something else.
Like, a little, Soul Foods type grocery store, you know? That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. All right, so now goals and policies on that one. Economically sustainable development.
What does private property say?
That is while at the same time balancing these rights to the general. So that mandates and changes do not unduly reduce the word, yeah, infringe on these rights. But in the general plan, that wasn't at the top, but there was a considerable amount of people. So that was important too, so we wanted to acknowledge that. And putting this, that in perspective.
Statement. And I know I understand we're trying to balance, probably strong feelings of constitutional private property rights,
You wanna acknowledge
and that's
that,
okay.
that there is that here, and that was expressed. It wasn't, in the previous one, that was like,
Tell me a town that doesn't have that.
yeah. Well, no,
Yeah, I just don't, I don't even know why we say it.
it's important to some people.
I know.
So, but that's why we modified it a little bit,
Yeah.
to put it into perspective. So, and then, rural management, there wasn't any changes in that. And on next page, there is the bottom, commercial zones enhancement.
So on that one, there was, somebody has gone through and struck out meant after encouragement, and that's the same note I made, but it wasn't corrected on.
Okay, where is it? Show it to me.
So right here, encouragement should just be encouraged,
Yeah,
but that, and the rest of this stuff that was struck out.
oh yeah, 1, 2, the third bullet,
Yes,
1, 2,
and the rest of it's been corrected, it just, for some
Okay.
reason that one was.
3. Thank you.
And
Right.
I'm not the typo guy, but it just, stood out.
Get better reading all these ordinances, you get better, right?
I hope so.
And then floodplain.
See, we should do that.
And then housing for the district. What do you think of my idea of having some photograph of those kinds of elements?
I think it'd be great.
To acknowledge
Yeah.
some of our businesses,
Yeah.
and business and some level.
Yeah, I think so.
And,
And we talk about views, and we talk about views, and,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think, I mean, there's enough photographers in town. We could put them all like that. I'll talk to the mayor about that. But I better write it down.
Okay. And then, I know we're still going through this, but is there a plan to ultimately create a map?
Yes, but Kevin gave us one, but I found some mistakes and he said something about, but then, Rod, our engineer, is also creating one, so I didn't wanna deal with that, and then we were looking at some stone stuff, and that's sort of like going, I don't wanna approve that. I think what it's gonna end up doing is we would amend, you know how we amended the general plan before, so we could go to the water conservancy?
Right.
Well, we would just amend it to
That
add that.
map. Okay, so we, because this part I think is great. and I
Yeah.
Want to get it.
Because I wanna get a map right.
Right, And for me, it's, I think the map's gonna take as much time as.
I agree,
Because we're gonna have to say, okay, where do we want high density housing and.
yes, where is it feasible?
Right.
Where can we do it?
If, if the.
When sewer becomes accessible, you know, yeah,
So those are the kind of things that somebody who's speculating can say, okay, this is the, when sewer comes and it looks like it's gonna be in town in the next whatever amount of years, if you're a speculator. Then I can buy this property today fairly cheap.
and when we get the, so we already have a wastewater study, and there's some information, when we get the water study, the
Right.
flood, whatever,
Oh, the flood,
that one we're doing right now.
okay, because I just read the least one, I just told it, read it, that's pretty interesting.
It's pretty interesting, and there's some really informative maps there, there's, like, it's
Right.
clear where
The sewer's gonna be,
it needs to be.
yes,
And it's also clear, like, I always wanted to follow up with Cameron, you know, about it shared. Like, you could have four houses on, let's say,
Or a single
a
level.
1/3 acre lot, sharing one of those larger systems. And that would really work in some of the areas that could take
right,
that density.
right.
And that's something we should look at now, it's not too complicated.
And typically,
Because I know, I've really heard, I think it was Kevin Stout has an idea for not small lots, but smaller lots.
right,
And, so that might allow that. And I know it would mean changing some things, but
yeah, so there was a sewer system in there, right? A self-contained system in there that I thought would work if I wanted to do multiple units. But if the sewer never came, or didn't come for years, I could build multiple units with one of these systems.
yeah,
But the way we've got the ordinance written now, I couldn't. Which is one of the things I'm trying to change, that if you can prove to the health department and they sign off on it, that you can put a fourplex on this lot, with this system, then. It, but, the way it's now, it's more than we can.
well, that language has been changed. I don't know if you caught it. We'll bring it up again in June. We just given the town council so many ordinances, they're like, I actually give them my summary, and I just give them a list. of things we sent to them, so they're all, that remind me,
Right,
you know? And so that's why I said we can pause and just focus on this. And then start
I like it.
working again.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Housing, are you good? Three things here.
or it's so minor that.
You're good with that? Knowledges, I think it does reflect our general, the survey of science.
Yeah.
I found it was very
It's
interesting,
pretty general.
yeah. And then your expertise, transportation and circulation,
That's my expertise with that.
so that was your topic.
Yes, that was my topic. Yeah, and
Portion of the
I know we had emergency surgery and
Are you leaving?
I am, but she's not going though, it's a work thing, so I have to go. So she's obviously,
I hope he's okay.
yes, he's doing much better now, the surgery was last Thursday. Pretty miserable weekend, but he's at the point now where the staples are starting to itch and he's gonna start messing with it. Be a while.
Yeah, that was changed, good. Double system might be an answer, because we have, if we get one more stop of the shuttle closer in like in the commercial area, it's the current one is in the higher resort area. That would solve it.
Right,
I mean, I don't know if people would pay $5 a head, And I think they're gonna have to change that. You know? As we do, has a little shut service of its own for customers at a hotel.
So this,
Uh-huh.
I know they would take people home. Especially if they
Yeah.
have much drink, which is a great service. Or take them to the hotel.
I didn't see anything, that word again, possible.
But yeah, I encourage that, I want that.
But there's also a strong desire on the part of a lot of the survey people to not, they don't care about sidewalks.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They care mostly that there's sidewalks online, and I think part of the reason for that is as we develop online, especially with some of like this downtown and the neighborhood commercial, I think that's gonna slow down.
Oh, for sure.
Hey. Yeah. 19. You've had a busy week, I know. Page 19 is economic development. We're just going over the most recent draft.
Okay,
Yeah, checking, you know. Kevin did a pretty good job of including all of our comments. And we just found a few typos, so I'm gonna just do one more cross check and then send it to him. And our goal is to perhaps have the public hearing on this in June. Does that sound good? And so we're just comparing the new version with the one we gave all our comments on. And right now we're on economic development. Now. It's done. 3 more. They did, and we double checked the numbers and then we cleaned it up. And you can double check this, you probably remember what you were concerned about, sorry.
What's the,
Where?
comment 34, current conditions. Somebody said you should add the word of after cost, and it's not on here. Yeah, dash.
Where is it right there, the dash, there's a dash? Under economic?
Yes, under.
No, you declare
public.
Oh, yeah, I skipped over to the next note, sorry.
So you have nothing on economic,
No,
that's what you're telling me.
yes, that's what I'm telling you. Sorry, excuse
You ready?
me.
It's okay, I used to, it. I was either before or after.
Yes. Did that at school a lot too.
Where?
So, I don't know where you are, so I don't want to jump ahead, where are you at, where,
We just finished with any comments on that one.
oh,
Okay. Public services. Where there it is. Where were you?
public services.
Okay. So let's go to public services. It was changed from infrastructure. And facilities, right, change it to that, okay. Go ahead.
There's a note about the sheriff and the fire department, that should be in desired outcomes. If that's what we desire, and I think it is,
Let's see, yeah.
there's no desire, there's nothing in the desired outcomes or that references,
Well, this is current conditions.
yeah, I know.
Okay, so is it mentioned? Yeah, it is mentioned there, and you're saying in desired outcomes, what we.
Yeah, that's where the fire and the sheriff should be located. That should be in desired outcomes.
But under it may be as like we want our home substation and.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first one. Okay. Okay, so desired outcomes.
Right.
Another one, right?
Yeah, I would think so, I think
And
that's.
how would you word that, like, effort? Or,
Yeah, so the desired outcome would be provide additional, public safety infrastructure such as,
in town,
yeah. Public infrastructure within town limits, including a fire substation and a police substation.
public safety. Infrastructure. I'll figure out my skill.
Yeah, you can figure out wording too, I think that's the desired outcome, too, is the desired outcome.
In town. Such as. Such as.
Recent fire substation.
Police. And fire. In town.
Yes. And then if you go down to goals and policies, the second goal is,
Infrastructure.
infrastructure support. This just says explore ways to provide, so,
Let me, I see it here, goals.
yeah, it's,
I'm looking at two different. I'm looking at our former document and new document, all comments, okay? Okay, go ahead.
so it said explore ways to provide infrastructure support for potentially higher density residential developments adjacent to commercial homes, so I don't think the goal should be to explore ways, the goal should be to provide ways. Or provide, or support infrastructure. I just don't think the exploration
I
is a
understand.
good goal.
to encourage, explore. What did you say?
If you just switch that around and said, support infrastructure for potentially higher development, so you're just gonna eliminate the first little bit and then switch support to the front.
Or we could just say, plan for infrastructure, support. Just take away everything before.
It says explore ways to plan, and up here it says explore ways to provide.
Yeah, I just don't think exploring ways is.
Yeah, take away, explore ways to, and start with plan.
I like support.
I would say take explore ways to provide, take that whole thing out.
Support,
And then it would say support infrastructure for potentially higher density residential developments adjacent to commercial.
or support plans for infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, thanks. I think everything else was done. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, the reason that was changed was because there's a comment.
And the plan's still in there.
The original was provide infrastructure. I said, we'll support this.
And your comment was to replace provide with plan.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
no,
town's not,
plan for rather than provide. Is that what we did? I think that's what we did.
Yes, that's what's on there.
That's a problem. Right. And then the water use. Any other comments on, before I rush you guys, public services and facilities? I'm sorry.
comment on that.
Well, yeah, but the comment, what they're referring to is the new calculation that's set forth by the state.
Uh-huh.
The state set that calculation.
Mhm.
I don't think that means that we've actually met that calculation.
No, we're below it.
Well, the only way to know what we are would be.
Well,
our
it
water
says,
usage
yeah,
And divide by the number of households within the
Yeah.
community.
the last study that we did said we were at the 2050 goal,
20 what?
the 2050 goal, 237.
We already there? Oh,
Well, that's probably because we have a lot of two-person households
yes.
within town, so. That's, all they're doing right there is stating the goals of the Division of Water Resources.
Yes. Did they take that paragraph out?
Yeah, they substituted with the Washington County Water Conservancy District as a target of 14%.
Yeah, because those goals may change, you know, and then a more broad statement that allows to, refer to any current goal without having to go back and then the general plan. We would check this one out, yeah. They changed it.
Yeah.
The language of this. Now, I like the new language better for your, I mean, just for the reason I just. That's, because that's their goal, and so that sets it as our goal. Larger municipalities right now have to have a water element. And so we're just like, let's just do it now because. I town staff do it.
Well,
Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you. I just want to see, well, this, I think the previous one, it is the last one that was added. We added it in our discussion.
oh, Springs and Wells.
Yeah. No, you know, we didn't give up our water. That's done. Did you wanna, do you have anything you want us to double check on the previous one?
No.
No.
I'm going to come through.
All right, so do we agree that this is a public hearing with these corrections?
All right.
So I will get the PDF to Crystal by Sunday. And, that may be the only thing. I think so. That would be something on public hearing. So, I'll let you know. Okay, I have a list, but things have changed. And,
Here for both meetings, too.
well, June work meeting's gonna do.
They will.
Yeah, we will get through everything. But like I said, the town council has. Asked for some.
They have.
I don't think I can get them ready, by
So when we
by
get
Monday, so.
new stuff to work on, maybe a cover letter that says this is from the council, this is something they want. That, a lot of times I look at it,
Well, we could put that in the whereas.
or just a cover letter that
Oh,
says,
yeah,
this
yeah.
was written, this came to us from the mayor, she'd like to see, here's the outcome she's hoping to reach. So
yeah,
that when I'm reading, I'm thinking, what's the goal that we're trying to accomplish here, then I can
absolutely.
read it with better,
Yeah, it's from the town council.
or,
And I did talk to, Riker, he sent us some ordinances. And, I remember Larry's, frustration, because I thought he had seen it, he had it. So I clarified with Riker that if the commissioner is the main author of a ordinance, you send it to me, and then I'll send it to Riker, and your name will be on that forwarded email, and he knows to run it by that main author.
and then.
Or it goes to the whole, whole commission.
Yeah.
I just said as a courtesy, so that, you know. it's gonna be considered, so,
Decisions could be made before
Correct.
this too, yeah.
but I thought you had a good point when. That wanted you to know that I heard that.
Appreciate that.
So, and, I have no other items for tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.